Greetings from Snake Mountain Boatworks on Saturday, October 5, 2019. First frost at Snake Mountain Boatworks. Winter's coming, time to turn the heat on. Here is an update on the 1958 16-foot Penn Sealiner, in which we've made tremendous strides. We have not begun applying the primer and bottom paint. Both of those just arrived in yesterday's UPS shipment. But we have done a rather incredible amount of work on the inside of the hull, which I will bring to you shortly after we've looked at several other things. You'll remember from a previous video that we could not save this transom. It was just too far gone. But I think in a previous video I made mention of the fact that there is an oak strip that runs around the edge of the transom and provides the mating surfaces for the transom itself and the strakes as they pass over and attach to the bottom and sides of the transom. So Joe rather ingeniously, while he was steaming this, quickly screwed the old transom together, and when we took it out of the steamer, you can guess we had to be fast. We started it, as always, at one end. We had all of us on board, holding, clamping as we worked around. This was the most tenuous, most challenging part because this radius is so small. But at both ends, we were able to make the bend and complete the mounting strip attachment to the old transom. Since this fit in the hole to begin with, the mating piece will be exactly the dimensions we require. This has been sitting now for 3 days, and on Monday we're going to be very close to taking that next step, inserting the new transom into the aft end of our Sealiner. While that was going on, and to come back to a theme that we have shared with you before, I again had a whole series of challenges suggesting that we were knowingly wasting time working on this boat. Well, maybe you think it's a waste of time, but we release every single thing from the inside and outside of this boat. That includes the 2 spray rails, and if you remember, the final 24 inches of both spray rails were rotted beyond saving. So Joe did a couple of really ingenious Dutchman repairs. I'll walk us over there shortly. But in the meantime, Anthony and I have really been enjoying ourselves way too much, stripping all of these parts. Here we have the combing pieces in front of us. We have seat braces. That oval piece is the mounting for the engine control unit. These are seating components beneath the combing. These are the pass-through post supports. We have not sanded those yet, nor have we sanded the next 3. We have not sanded the windshield yet. We've got a myriad of these little tiny cylinders that we still must strip, sand, etc. This is the aft hatch, which has been stripped. What beautiful mahogany. And you notice somebody took real care here, and I'm hoping you can see it. But these two planks are much lighter than the neighboring ones. So we're going to get an effect on the aft hatch of having almost two stripes in there. Now, all of this, once we've sanded it, of course, must be bleached. Every single piece, every visible surface. If we walk over and around our tools, this is the shorter of the two Dutchmen, and as you can see, Joe did a really excellent job here. They fit perfectly. Once we bleach the spray rails, because they are finished bright, they'll be a nice uniform color. So, and to continue that theme, there are parts and parts and parts and parts to every one of these boats. Yes, I know a lot of people just sort of get out some 120 sandpaper and scrub the surface and don't take anything apart and slap on some new varnish. And of course we can tell because the head of every fastener is all gooped up with yucky varnish as a result. These are all of the transom framing components. Every piece you see in front of you has been stripped, sanded, bleached, stained, sealed with 3 coats of clear penetrating epoxy sealer, and at this point have received, I believe it's 5 coats of Pettit high build varnish. Here is our new transom. Joe just did a great job selecting some nice straight grained Honduras mahogany. We will not use anything but Philippine or Honduras mahogany. Yeah, I know there are all kinds of fancy Asian faux mahoganies out there, African faux mahoganies with their swirly grains and their brittleness and their unwillingness to sand flat. These pieces, every single one of them at this point, will be sanded flat one last time. This, what you're looking at right here on the transom, this is the interface. We won't deal with the exterior until we have the transom blank installed in the boat herself. Well, now, if that weren't enough, let me take you underneath the hull and give you a feel for what we've been doing there. So here we are looking through the transom forward to the bow and at the underside of the hull. I spoke a moment ago about parts being parts. Well, in fact, Joe, RJ, and Anthony have spent hours and hours and hours stripping old varnish, paint, scum, you name it, off of every surface you see in front of you, all the way down to the keel, all the way up to the stem, and all the way back to the transom itself. Once sanded, everything was sealed with 2 coats of clear penetrating epoxy sealer, and then we have at this point applied the first of what will be 3 coats of Sikkens Cetol Marine. Every surface will require multiple coats. We will shortly have this boat back right side up as soon as we get the transom in place, and then all these surfaces will require a light sanding before the final coat is applied. The ribs and planking are coated in Sikkens Cetol Marine for its toughness. It's easy to care characters. If you happen to scuff a small area, all you need to do is reach for some 120 grit paper and a little acetone to wipe off the residue, and reach for your can of Sikkens Cetol Marine. That's satin, not gloss. The gloss is, well, you just wouldn't want to put gloss in this application. Get a chip brush or a foamy and apply a little bit of the Sikkens to the spot you just sanded. It will blend in, it will color up. Nobody, including you, will ever know where you just worked. So now we will attempt to back out of the transom and show you the extent to which we take care to maintain the boat's shape. Before we did any work on the boat, and just after we removed the transom blank, and we did that after we rolled the boat upside down so that we had no issues around twisting or hogging the boat. We built this frame. It's essentially, I guess, a version of a hardback to keep the boat true. Once we have the transom ready to go in, that strip will go first, followed by the transom itself. And that'll be a fantastic milestone. We really can't wait for that day. So, on this bitterly cold, well, it feels bitterly cold because it's the first morning in Vermont, we thank you very much and say goodbye from Snake Mountain Boatworks.